Hi, everybody. We're going to give it a few minutes and let some people jump on here before we get started. Hope everybody's having a fabulous Wednesday. All right. All right. Well, as things are getting climbing, because I know our presenters have a lot of information, I'm going to go ahead and get kicking. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today for the 2022 Harmony webinar series. I've got a question already, so we're going to check this out and see what it is. Oh, maybe it's just a hello. Hello. Don't want to miss anything. So grateful to have everybody here for our webinar series today. We are going to be talking with a couple of presenters. You're getting tag teamed here with Understanding Intervention and Structured Family Recovery with Carver Brown and Lauren Kirshberg from Creative Addiction Services. I am going to give you guys a quick rundown on Harmony itself for those of you who are new. We are nestled on a 43-acre campus in the mountains of Estes Park, just outside of the Rocky Mountain National Park. We are a residential facility that offers comprehensive treatment for adults and their families. Okay, when technology works, it's fabulous. First of all, Harmony believes that long-term recovery from alcohol and other drugs is possible. And we have over 53 years of addiction treatment. This year, I think, is our 53rd anniversary. And we have fostered a generation of long-term recovery who supports our clients and our families. We are a 70-bed residential treatment program with medical detox, and we do now have an IOP program. And if you would like more information on that, you can find it on our website. We also have a very, very robust alumni program that we're very proud of and we continue to build on. Again, more information on that can be found on our website. And we are a 12-step program. Our website, if you're interested in any of this information, is harmonyfoundationinc.com, or you can call our admissions staff and they'll be happy to answer any questions at 866-686-7867. So a few housekeeping things to go over really quick. We do record these webinars. So at the conclusion, within, I'd say 24 to 48 hours, I will have this posted on our website so you can access it again. At that time, it is no longer available for a CEU unit, but you are able to share it and other people can come and visit it because it is pretty fabulous information. And along with this one, all of our previous webinars are there as well. You will, hi, Anella, you are not on video. We cannot see any of the attendees, but you can see us. So I hope that answers your question there. So we do provide certificates via email. I ask that you give me until Friday, April 1st, end of day to do so, albeit it is April Fool's Day. I promise you, I will not trick you and not send your certificate. So if you were involved in this webinar for 45 minutes or more, you will be receiving a certificate. And we do have a system in place that does track how long everybody is engaged. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email is on the website or it's attached to any of the emails that you received regarding this particular webinar. And also there is a survey that we really appreciate your feedback. So when you see that link pop up at the end of the webinar, please take the time to fill that out. It's quick 5 questions. And if you don't access it at the end of the webinar, I will include it with your certificate. As we're getting started here, I want to introduce our fabulous presenters. We are fortunate enough to have Carver Brown and Lauren Kirshberg with Creative Addiction Services out of Mississippi with us today. And Carver is a certified recovery coach and trainer with the Connecticut Community of Addiction Recovery and is a structured family recovery counselor. He is also a grief recovery specialist certified with the Grief Recovery Institute. Carver volunteers on a task force for the Episcopal Recovery Program and the Mississippi Department of Corrections. Carver is a Love First clinical interventionist and has over 15 years of experience working in the addiction treatment industry. He has taken over 7,000 people and counting through the 12 steps nationwide through a program called Back to Basics by Wally Payton. In addition to that, I'm going to interject this. He was on episode 99 of Monday State of Mind, the Harmony Foundation podcast. And I highly suggest you take a listen to that because he shares some very, very critical and important information regarding grief recovery. So along with Carver today, we have Lauren Kirshberg. Lauren graduated from the University of Alabama, where she studied adult development, family systems, and addiction. She began working in the addiction recovery industry in 2010 alongside Carver. Lauren is a Love First clinical interventionist, and she is also a certified recovery coach through the Connecticut Community of Addiction Recovery and a structured family recovery counselor. So I'm so happy they are both here today. We are going to be doing this a little different than in the past. So just so you know, there is not any technical difficulty going on. There is not a slide deck for them. So we are blessed with their presence, and I know they are amazing, amazing presenters. So I'm going to turn it over to them. And please, if you have questions along the way, enter them in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring that so we can get those answered as we go. And at this time, I'm going to stop my share. And there we are.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you, Harmony. And I've been reading all the wonderful salutations from everybody around the country who have chimed in. It's so great to see you guys, and welcome aboard. And I'm just thrilled to be here with you. Lauren and I started this journey a while ago, and we just sort of stuck. We've been working together for a long, long time. And Lauren, one thing I want to say, I want to thank you all, because rarely do you get the opportunity to really take a pause and think about how you got here and what you actually do, and the spiritual gifts involved in the whole thing, and watching lives change, and all of the range of emotions that come up. And if there's going to be anybody that cries at an intervention, Lauren's going to start.
That's right.
And then we're all going to be, in tears by the end. And so anyway, I'm just grateful to all of you. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Lauren, I was thinking back to how we got into this. We took the training, never really intended to be interventionists. We were trying to figure out new ways to help families.
Right.
We were working as we were coordinators for an alumni program for a prominent treatment center. And we did this wonderful thing. We invited families into the alumni program. So we made alumni out of the families. And this was a game changer that we could do a whole episode just on that. So
yes, we could.
But then, Lauren, when we wanted to figure out a way to help families, we were having to do these little mini interventions, and we didn't feel like we needed the training, right?
Right. Yeah. We were kind of just winging it.
Yeah. So I remembered way back when I first started working in the field, I met John Southworth, the late John Southworth. Many regard as the godfather of intervention. This guy, just what an amazing man, and what a gift that we lost when John passed. And but my first meeting with him, or one of the early meetings with him, he said that he would not do an intervention unless the participants read this book. And the book was, I don't know if you'll be able to see this in
it's blurry because of your.
Yeah, I know. That's because it's
there. I can see it now.
Love First by Jeff and Deborah J. And so he required the families to read this book, and they had to read this book before he would do an intervention. that just stuck with me. And so when Lauren and I wanted to do training, we started investigating, where should we be trained? Who should we? And the notion came up that we should go to the people that wrote the book. And that was Jeff and Deborah J. And Lauren, do you want to talk about the training that we took, or
Sure.
kind of the miracle that happened during the training?
Yes, the training was amazing. It was very experiential in that when you left, you really had the tools and knew how to do a successful intervention. Unlike a lot of other trainings that I've gone to, that's just kind of passive listening and informational. It was a 5-day long experience. You really, bonded with the group. In fact, we're still in touch with that group from 5 or 6 years ago on Facebook and still supporting each other in our endeavors. But it was just an incredibly well thought out, well planned, well executed process of learning how to do it. And Carver and I actually got our very first call for a full intervention during the last day of the intervention training. And so Jeff J got very excited, and he was, outside coaching us, and it just took off from there, really.
I'll never forget how excited he was. What was it exactly he said to us? Something
he
about,
said, "You two are going to make a great team." That's what he said. Because we need each other is what he meant. We can't do it by ourselves.
No. We are two halves of one really great individual. We're just, I know I love to present. I love to do the ask, and I'm the big talker, and Lauren is just wonderful. Lauren has this wonderful presence, and she's very disarming, and she's great with moms and wives. And so it really is, it's something that, and it's very unusual, I think, to have the two of us, brought into a family system. So let's talk about, one point I wanted to make is, for most of the interventionists that I know that have been really successful in this, I think there's a commonality that few of them launched into this thinking this was what they were going to do. That intervention, it's an odd way to make a living, number one, but number two, it's kind of something that finds you. It's sort of you are sought out to do this. It's almost as if, in a way, we were kind of born to do. It was something, and I never thought we would ever do it. But talking about the process, Lauren, that's one of the things I wanted to impart upon the group here. Right. And one of my favorite ways to begin is that, intervention is not what you see on TV. What you see on TV makes great TV, but it doesn't make a good intervention. And so, Lauren, why don't you talk about the structure of a loving intervention, if you don't mind, and kind of how that goes, how that's constructed.
Well, we get our first initial call from some concerned family member, and we start gathering information on the person and the different family dynamics. We, at first, during this initial call, is identify who would be a good people to be on the team. And that's very, strategic, because we don't want to ever invite anybody in on this, team we're creating who's going to tell the person what's going on, because that puts them in a dangerous position where their use can escalate, knowing that the end is coming. So we meet with them initially, and we go over the process with them, answer questions, and we want to take as much time as possible, because speeding through this process, every time we sit down and meet with the family and we add more people to the team, we learn a little bit more. We learn about a possible objection that they hadn't thought of yet. And so we want to take our time and get to know the family and how they all interact with the person of concern.
And with each other.
And with each other. That's right. That's right.
And it's all very strategic. We are creating strategy as we go. We always make 3 recommendations for treatment centers. We want the family. We never send the family to a website or to call a call center. We want them to speak to someone that we know. Go to a place that we've visited. We want to really have done our homework and want to match our 3 suggestions with the client very carefully to make sure that any of the 3 choices they make would provide them the best care possible. And Lauren, talk about the letter process, because we take them to a point. We've done several team meetings. We've evaluated, put together the team. We do individual interviews of each of the team members, and at that point, Lauren has sent out the instructions for doing their 2 letters.
Right, and this is the Love First model. It's very simply put together for them on a one-page document that I've kind of condensed. There's 7 parts to the first letter. It's basically, you want to, tell the person how much you love them to start out, and how much you miss them. Because when someone walks into an intervention, they immediately kind of know what's going on, and they are ready for a fight. And when you start hitting them with love and compassion, it is completely disarming. And, 9 times out of 10, we see them start to weep. The whole goal of the letter is to talk to the heart, and not list facts. There's a very small section in the middle where we list just a couple of examples of how we know that there's a problem. And then we quickly move into, there is a solution for this, and we've taken care of everything, and you don't have to think about it. All you have to do is say yes. And then there's a direct ask at the end, because we want to leave sort of an open-ended question hanging in the air for a second in hopes that they're going to just automatically answer, which sometimes they do.
Right. And depending on the circumstances, I mean, we've worked with employers, we've worked more than just the family, system. Sometimes we need to look to FMLA, to other things. There's a lot of factors involved in a person taking time out from their life. And one of the things we do with the families is we want a list of every possible objection that the person is going to present to us. And then we want to have a solution for every one of those objections. Mm-hmm. And so we need to know who's going to walk the dog, who's going to feed the fish, what about the dental appointment, coming up on Tuesday, what about,
nothing is too small.
Nothing is too small. Thank you, Lauren. We try to come up with everything, and we try to do every possible thing that the person might object to, so that we're prepared. And we've got some team member who's ready to be able to say that, I'm going to handle that. Now, when we do the intervention, one of the comforting things that we deliver to the families is you're not going to be responsible for any extemporaneous discussions. All you have to do at the intervention, only responsibility any of the team members have, is to read their letters. And at that point, then I'm usually the one that then they just tell the family, I'll do the talking. I will answer the objections. I will talk about the treatment center that's been chosen, and that's a lot of times a lot of comfort to families. Although some will tend to
can't be quiet.
Some will tend to forget that,
Yeah.
And so we try to seat those next to me or to Lauren, so we can have have a calming influence for those that feel compelled that they need
a gentle reminder that they
reminder.
We don't want to get into an argument.
No. And here's another thing. Lauren, you said it really great. We don't want to debate. We don't want to talk to their head. We want to speak just to their heart. And we are there to preserve the client's dignity, the person of concern. We're there to preserve their dignity at all cost. When we go through the letter process, and Lauren does this better than anybody I've ever met, is looking through, we want to edit and look through those letters, and Lauren and I both review every one, looking for anything that might be misinterpreted as a little jab, or something that could be construed as something that's shaming in any way. And we will alter, with the permission of the authors, we will alter language, suggest other phrases, because the families, won't have any intention in most cases, majority of anything that could be construed as a jab. But Lauren and I want to make sure that nothing could be misinterpreted. So I put on my good addict hat as I'm the person who's receiving this, and I listen for how I might react, to something, even in some way. Phrases or everything is strategic. We also, Lauren, the seating, the way we sit and the location and all of this is strategic. We want the person to be greeted by someone that they're deeply emotionally connected to. We want to invite them to come have a seat, and we seat them next to people they're most emotionally connected to. We want them directly across from the people they respect the most. And on the wings are the people that they might have some conflict with. There might be some negative energy going on. We don't want them directly next to or directly across from. So it's very strategic the way we organize all of that. And the order, Lauren, the order of the letters is strategically done as well, right?
That's right. Yes.
I have a question for you, and you may get to it, and I may be early, but when you're talking about all this work that's going into the letters and whatnot, what is the time frame on the prep work that you're looking at? So somebody can't call and say, hey, I need an intervention tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is that comfortable time frame to properly allow preparation for this?
Yeah, like Lauren, 2 weeks is at a minimum is what we're saying,
and we view it as a medical emergency, but we also want to have a successful outcome.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and we've had cases where we've had to go faster. We just it was an emergency. We had to move faster. But I'm going to tell you, and even though those have been successful interventions, there have been little hiccups along the way that had we taken more time, we would have discovered things that could have smoothed the process.
Right.
Or that might have changed the treatment center option that we had chosen.
Listen, it might have. I mean, I don't name names or anything, but we're on our way to a wonderful facility in the mountains, and on the way, the person of concern reaches over to me and he says, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I have a heart condition." And this altitude might be a problem. And I thought, well, that would have been a great thing for the family to tell me,
Right. Right.
But at the end of the day, the person was able to negotiate that, and we were able to overcome. But little things like that, when we have enough time and plenty of conversations and movement with the family, we discover. And Lauren, we discover things about the family dynamics outside of the person of concern that we need to mitigate and have some separation. And
that's right. Because in addition to the group meetings that we have with the family, we also sort of interview and have one-off relationships that we cultivate with them, so they can tell us stuff that they may not feel comfortable saying in front of the whole family, like, so mad at mom, and I don't want to say that to the group,
right, where this person may say, yeah, I have this conflict, but the person they have the conflict with may not say the same thing.
And so once we know that, we know where to seat them, we know which order to put them in they need to kind of be buried in the middle in the order of the letters and not go last, and those sort of things.
Right.
Or some people can't participate at all. I think I see this question coming up, and it's a good one. Sometimes, and that's very touchy. That can be very, so a lot of times I will say, well, for various reasons, and I'll have some, that we don't think maybe your, active participation, but you certainly can provide a letter. So why don't you give us your letter, and then someone else can read it. And honestly, at the end of the day, we might not even use it, but it gives the person, some active participation, some level of, they don't feel like they're being completely left out. We're trying to manage hurt feelings that way. There's a lot. We learn, like Lauren says, every time we meet, we learn.
Right on. Does that answer your question, Todd? If not, we can address it in a bit. We'll let them continue on.
Outstanding. Well, yeah, we've had to make lots of changes. I mean, you discover things as you go, and and the majority. I mean, Lauren, the success rate of having people in treatment for in the 90%.
Yes. Yeah, for getting a yes to go to treatment.
We're getting a yes.
Mhm.
The other thing is, airline tickets are cut. Fully refundable tickets are cut. Most of the time, Lauren, one of us or both of us do the transportation. Sometimes that's another person, but the majority of the time it's one or both of us that do the transportation, because we want to go. I mean, I really want the comfort of introducing the person to the treatment team, or especially, well, at least the intake people, and make a comfortable transition. Lauren has put together a case history. She's given all of the contact information. We've got the list of who we would like to have releases signed at the time. And I want to tell you guys that part of the responsibility that I have and Lauren has about being this is that we're not just an advocate for the family. We're an advocate for the person of concern. I do everything I can to bond with and not be in a contrary relationship with that person. I want them to know, that in the majority of the cases, the person knows they're not living the kind of life that they'd like to be living, whether they want to attribute that to substance use disorder or behavioral issues or what. They're not living the life. And what we're there to do is to give them an opportunity to take this spiritual, physical, emotional time out in their life. What a rare opportunity that any of us might have to be able to take this little time out of the stressors of our life and go to a place where some of the most gifted professionals on the planet exist, that we can be tested, that we can be evaluated, that we can come up with a true long-term solution, to these things. And I will say this sometimes at the intervention, that these important decisions that need to be made, I recognize this to be a life-changing decision to attend something like this, is to say, but that important decision can't be made here in your living room. This decision can only be made with the best information after you go and meet the treatment team and find this lovely facility, and then make your evaluation. We're not sending you to prison. We're not getting married. We're just there to get you
Just a short time out.
Yeah, this historic spiritual time out of your life. What a gift. And we've taken care of everything. We're going to make sure your fish are fed. We're going to make sure that the plants are misted on Tuesdays. Everything is taken care of. And I love this comment. Donna, yeah, trauma got the person there, and love and support brings the healing. And that's we're there to advocate for them, to tell them how much we love them, we care about them. And we know
Right.
kind of what, and although there are unknowns, sometimes, we might not, depending on the case and the way we evaluate it, we may not be talking so much about, it may be apparent that it's substance use, but for the sake of the client, maybe we need to focus more on the depression or the anxiety or the stresses of life that we're going to focus on. Of course, at the same time, we're going to, be lovingly and carefully and medically withdrawing them from the substances, so that any other, spiritual, psychological intervention can take hold. In that, the recovery process, only works in an unencumbered spirit. So, well, that's important too. So,
And so
I
was going to say, after we go through all of that, 95% of the time they will say yes. And we will immediately get up. And sometimes they're shocked that they're leaving right then, but the bag is packed and we move them to the car and we get on the road to get to the airport or drive to the center. But the 5% of times after we go through all of that, and sometimes, as long as the person has not left then we are staying there because they are still thinking about it, even though they may be giving us a no, forget it, y'all are crazy. As long as they're still there, then there's a percentage of them that, so we stay until they get up and walk out. But in the rare instance that they don't say yes, Carver, talk about how we handle the second letter.
Well, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
And what you say to them, after sometimes many hours of us trying to.
That's right. We plan for walkouts. First of all, we have appointed an ambassador or two who's going to follow the person if we do get a walkout, and we've coached them into how they're going to draw the person back. And the message is basically, we're only here. We are here to have a conversation. We're not here to kidnap or anything else.
Strong arm you or anything.
Yeah, this isn't a kidnapping. This is just a conversation. So please, won't you just come back? Would give us a few more minutes. We've got a few more things we want to go over, because the person is free to make any decisions that they want. But as you know, they're not the only ones that have decisions to make based on the outcome of this intervention. And so if we're getting a no, then everyone, the majority of people have a bottom line letter that we've also carefully helped them curate to present. That would be, what's the family situation, or what's our relationship going to look like moving forward if you're not able to accept, this wonderful gift we've got for you today. And that, and I can never, we can't ever tell people what that's going to be. We give them examples, but we let each individual make up for them what their boundaries are going to be. And we try to stress on them that if the family situation doesn't change, then the prospect of this getting markedly worse very soon is a distinct possibility. Did I answer that, Lauren?
You did.
The way you were thinking? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the car is parked. We're ready to go. The car is parked facing out. The tank is full of gas. We don't need to stop at a gas station on the way. So we really have gone through this whole thing to think of everything, and that does take time. That does take time to make sure we've thought of everything. Now, Lauren, do you want to switch now? Should we switch gears? Are there any other questions? Do you guys want to pop up a question in there to make sure? A price range for a family to hire us. Yeah. Well, it's expensive. There's no question about it. And we do have the ability to do a slide and scale. And so some families, listen, we get calls all the time, I'm going to tell you, that can't even afford an intervention, what have you. So we make recommendations to the family about treatment options, resources, free resources. I can have their insurance verified to find out people who are in network with their insurance. I have coached families, given them, tips on doing their own intervention. Certainly they need to read the book, Love First by Jeff and Deborah J., which is available on Amazon. Yeah, there you go. It's just, thank you, Sherry, for posting it right there. This is the book. And this tells a family everything they need to know about how to do their own intervention. It's more than you'll ever want to know. It's so, Deborah J., if there's one thing to say about Deborah and Jeff J., they are thorough. They have thought of everything. Very thorough. And I just saw that Deborah's going to be on the, you guys do not miss her.
Right. Yes. So for those of you that didn't see the thing, the comment is Deborah J. will be presenting on this webinar in August. So we're really excited. And I think it's a fabulous introduction that y'all are doing for her and the value of the work. So I do have another question. It says, how many people do you use to transport client in rented or owned vehicles?
Ooh, well, we'll either use a transportation service, or Lauren and I will do the transportation. We just use our own vehicles, and we don't And then family members sometimes, will go with us, but that's very rare that the families will attend. Will attend the transportation. Am I answering the question correctly, or am I hitting the right?
Yeah, it's usually a family member that's driving us. Not a family member that they may be at odds with, but a neutral family member that they know they're driving us to the airport. Say if we're, in another town, they will take us to the airport and we'll do the transport and the escort all the way to treatment. Rarely have we used a sober transport company, but it's come up before. And another time it's also come up that we might need to take a nurse with us. I think we're flying private with that client, and we weren't sure about, their health really. And so we were going to have a nurse in recovery that we know who was going to travel with us. So.
That's right. And Lauren said this earlier. I was thinking of an instance, there was one instance where I needed to do it. Lauren was working outside of that. And this kind of hits the price structure. Sometimes when they hire just one of us could be hired full-time for the whole project. And the other of us could be doing some ancillary work on the side, helping with letters. And that can reduce costs in this particular. And then sometimes these interventions can really last. I was doing one in a city, and it was a 5-hour. It went on for 5 hours, and Lauren was about ready to order a pizza to the house.
I was at home in another state, waiting to hear from him whether or not we got a yes or no. And hours and hours were going by.
And
so I'm not checking
my phone. My watch keeps buzzing on my wrist, but I'm not going to even look. I'm focused on this 5 hours. We had fish tacos during the intervention. It went on so long. Lauren is about to get a pizza ordered, so the delivery man could make sure that everybody was alive.
Yeah,
call her back.
I tend to worry a little.
Wellness check.
So Donna has an additional question.
I don't know if they have a fee for wellness check. Okay.
We need a snack reserve going on as part of the planning.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Donna wants to know if you offer wraparound family support after they go to treatment as part of the package.
Okay, so this is a perfect segue into, and I never really addressed, the price. If someone wants to hire one of us for the full blown, deal, at the full price, it typically to hire one of us, it's $5,000, and that's, we have an hourly rate. If somebody wants to just hire us by the hour, but typically at the hourly rate, with all the work and all the care we go through, but it can be less than that, too. Okay, insurance doesn't cover intervention, but many times that we'll verify the client's insurance in order to match the treatment center that's in network, so that they can utilize their insurance. So go ahead, Lauren. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, we're talking about families. Well, the first we stay with them during the treatment process too. We're there to act as a liaison between the family and the treatment center as needed, and that's included in the price. So sometimes, we coach after the person said yes and they're gone. Then we have a family call and we'll start coaching them on what to expect while they're in treatment. Questions not to ask when they're talking to them on the phone. How the progress goes. We want it to go like this, and it's going to be a little up and down, and that's normal. And so we go through all that with them. And we're also there to handle, if there's ever a risk of AMA happening, we will grab those bottom line letters that we probably didn't go through during the intervention, and we'll talk to the therapist and the person of concern and say, hey, if you're going to leave early, this is what the landscape looks like coming home. So it's only fair that
That's a great point, Lauren. The vast majority of these, we never use bottom lines.
That's right.
Isn't that interesting? We've got them. We've got them if we need them. But the majority, it's I don't know what the percentage is. I'd have to really.
It's probably like 5% of the time that we actually read bottom line letters.
We don't have, but because we've gone for the heart. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have a quick question, and this one's
So
interesting.
let's talk.
Oh, he's got a bad
This is
signal.
a
so-
great.
Oh, hold on, Carver. Hold on. We got a quick question that is relatively interesting here. It says, may this intervention strategy be applicable to other people who are struggling and may need treatment, such as people who struggle with eating disorders?
Absolutely.
100%. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The model works. It doesn't have to be substance use. The model works. And so, because it's the same, it's struggles. It's just struggles, no matter what they are. It does not matter. And more, Lauren and I are running into cases where there's no substance use at all.
Mhm.
So there you go. Yeah.
Somebody needs a timeout to go to a mental health facility.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So switching gears to what happens after treatment, then we look at outcomes. So you guys know that the outcomes of people, like let's look at 12-step fellowships. So people who just walk into 12-step fellowships and manage to stay sober the first year without a slip. So of course, we're a pretty flighty bunch, but somewhere or plus or minus around 5% of the people achieve that. Now, if you isolated people who go to treatment, go to treatment do better, right? The outcomes are better. So if we were able to manage treatment people who attend 12-step fellowships and stay sober the first year without a slip, the numbers rise to somewhere between, in the 20 to 30, maybe being a little generous, say 30% of those stay sober the first year without a slip. But there's a subgroup that enjoys 85 to 90% recovery rates for 5 years without a slip. Who in the world are these wildly successful people? Well, they're the professionals. They're the airline pilots and the doctors and the attorneys and the judges who, A, have licensure issues certainly at risk, but B, there is a team approach to helping this person stay sober. It's so important because of the work that they do. And so in the case of each of these professionals, they're assigned a case manager. They are required to attend 12-step meetings. They're typically are assigned a mentor. They are required to get a sponsor. They also are required to attend, they meet with their case manager regularly, go over their progress. They also are required to attend industry only. There's the lawyers here, at least here in our town, have their own meeting once a week. And then there's the caduceus meetings once a week for physicians. And then typically there's an annual retreat that they are required to attend where the families are involved. So this represents a whole team of people who are supporting the person in their recovery. And Deborah J. came up with this notion a while back of why is it that group has, such wonderful outcomes and support? Why can't we do something like that for the families? And I'm so grateful that she did. This is the first edition. I couldn't lay my hands on my second edition. This is the first edition of It Takes a Family by Deborah J. And this book begins by explaining exactly what I've told you about outcomes. And the book is designed to help a family put together a recovery team to support the person of concern. And they do this by encouraging the family members to get in recovery themselves and to meet once a week and have a topic each week that they are going to discuss, and then invite the person of concern into this family meeting, so that once a week for approximately an hour, they will meet together. They don't have to be in the same living room. This all can be done by Zoom or by freeconferencecall.com. And they can share about each person's or CODA with a therapist and work on their own recovery journey at the same time that others will go into the, now you're smiling, what have I done?
Your signal's going in and out. Sorry, we're in the middle of a crazy storm right now.
The storm's sneaking up on Mississippi,
yeah.
so
I'm so
pardon
sorry.
our technology
Yeah.
issues.
We heard most of
Lauren, well, you take it from there, Lauren. Your signal is better. You're pedaling faster than I am.
Okay. So the structured family recovery in the back of the book, and Deborah will go over this when she does her full hour on this, but in the back of the book are a year's worth of sessions that a family can go through. So you can take the training through Deborah and Jeff J and become a structured family recovery counselor. And you can facilitate, which Carver and I both are, you can facilitate these sessions with the families. Like Carver said, we like for them to start right when the person goes to treatment. And the first 4 sessions are anger, resentment, and no, I can't remember what the third one is. And the fourth is forgiveness. Anyway, we get through the sort of the anger part of, Sherry says acceptance. Thank you. Get through the initial, when the dust settles, that's when you kind of can feel the anger and all that. You get through all of that. The 4th session is about forgiveness. And that's when we invite the person who's in treatment to join the recovery team that we're creating. So Carver and I like to get the family members through, maybe through the first 8 sessions or so. And then you want to sort of move them into having these meetings on their own. So we can go to, we're available on a PRN basis if you need anything, or we'll come in once a month with you and just do a check-in. And you can take them through this whole process. And there's no crosstalk during the meeting. It's really set up like a 12-step meeting where there's topic driven. So we always say, how many families sit around the kitchen table and each get to hear what the other person, what humility means to me, and not have anybody, interject or that sort of thing. And so it really, we've seen it completely transform families and de-stress the whole family system and normalize what the person in treatment is going through, because we're encouraging everybody to find their own recovery journey and what that looks like for them, and how it's okay that the person coming home from treatment, their recovery journey is going to look different than yours, or different than even somebody of the same, substance use history. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what structured family recovery is. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant. It's a game changer. And one of the things, when the person of concern comes out of treatment, they have a treatment plan or recovery plan. So we have the families do a recovery plan too. So we have the families look at their own relapse warning signs, and then we have them make commitments as to what they're going to do if they have a slip. And then the person of concern has their own too. They have their own relapse warning signs, and then they've made a commitment as to what they're going to do if they have a slip. And so,
or what they want the family to do if they have a slip. So I've run into that before, where the person comes home from treatment, they do well for a little while and they've relapsed, and then we'll come together as a team with the person over here in relapse, and we'll pull out, they asked us to intervene, or they said that they wanted to go back to residential treatment, or they wanted to go to an IOP, or what have you. And they spelled out exactly what we need to do as the family. And so there's no question and panic on what needs to happen next.
So there is a question, as we're talking about treatment facilities and whatnot. Todd would like to know if you prefer to see clients go to out-of-state or in-state facilities, or does it matter?
Well,
it really depends on the client.
It depends,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes when it's a younger client and they've got a lot of friends who are local, it's best to move them out of state and all. But then some of the older clients, it can be beneficial for them to know that they could have visits from their family and that they could be close. So it's something, each case is a little different, but it can work both ways. It could work.
Another piece of that too, staying local if you can, is your recovery community. If you're in a treatment center that's taking you to outside meetings, you're going to be a little bit more connected to your, but some people, that can be a dangerous thing, and you need to get them out of state. And then we can help them get plugged back in if they're coming back here, and we have a network of, people all over the country too, that can help with wherever somebody's going home in most cases.
I'll never forget when I heard Deborah J talking about structured family recovery. Lauren and I were there, and she was doing an in-service, and I started finishing her sentences, because I was so excited, because I was hearing it all of a sudden it started making sense to me why I had such a difficulty trying to get families into recovery. I had been suggesting Al-Anon and CODA and everything I could think of to get families in recovery, and many of them would start, but they wouldn't stick, and some wouldn't start at all. And the reason why I was so unsuccessful was because I didn't have a program. I didn't have a process to give them. Now with structured family recovery in the book, I've got a year's worth of meetings, topics for them. In the book, there is a year's worth of topics, and every one of them is structured, and it mimics in a way a 12-step meeting where there's readings at the beginning, and then we do the promises at the end. And it's very much, Deborah J and Jeff and Lauren and I all really believe in 12-step recovery. We just do. And of course, I believe in multiple pathways too, and I support people in their decisions. However, it's 12-step recovery is still the most accessible recovery plan post-treatment, and is also the least expensive, and and it's got the highest success rate. So anyway,
I will say this too, that the families are learning the language of recovery in these sessions. And so it's an easier transition out into the, fellowships, into their communities, where they feel a little bit like they're in the know about what they're talking about, what they're listening to.
And I try to make it fun.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be, we don't, we're busy enough. We got enough stuff. I want to make this fun. I want to make it engaging. I want to make this, and also, and Lauren, you hit on this. I'm not there to try to, to be adopted into the family.
Right.
They don't want to see me at Thanksgiving passing them the gravy. They want, I'm just there to help them develop a system that they can be comfortable with. And at any time that they're ready for me to turn them, this over to them, then that's what I want to do. I want them doing this on their own, and let's move on to the next family and all. So
with that being said, Carver, Sherry would like to know if y'all help with interventions in families nationally or just in your region.
We go anywhere.
We'll go anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think most of the requests, because we're here in the South, and people can understand us better down here. People, and people in Minnesota probably hardly understand every other word we're saying, and would need an interpreter. But nonetheless, we will go anywhere and do get hired all over. So. But I have to say that most of them have been regional, because that's where people know us the best, I suppose.
I'm going to go ahead and share your contact information on the screen while you all wrap up. So don't mind me as I play around here.
Oh, you play, Christy. And let me just say thank you again for thinking of us and inviting us to come, and do this. And I'm so grateful to all of you who have participated. This is something Lauren and I have never intended to do. This just found us, and we have found a way to really, I don't know, this loving approach is something that, to me is the exact right way. And I think the successes that we've had have been, are reminiscent or reflective of this approach. And I wouldn't want to do it any other way. There's a lot of methods out there, but this is what I really is more comfortable to me. I don't know, Lauren, any thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree with that. As a person in long-term recovery, this is how I would want it presented to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
100%.
can't tell you how grateful I am. It looks like there's a lot of love going on for y'all right now in the chat box and in the questions. So everybody is so very grateful. And as we're wrapping up today, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in right now. We'll try and get to them. But I wanted to remind you that the survey is coming your way. Please take that time. It's very valuable. This is also recorded. You can have access to it on our website. Your certificates are coming at you by end of day on Friday, and I will absolutely include all of their contact information in there so you have that accessible to you. And I also want to let you know that the next webinar we have coming up in April on the 27th is presented by Stephen Spinotto from Valiant Recovery, and he is going to be talking about addiction interactions, identifying and treating the neural pathways of addiction. And he will be doing this style as well with no slide deck, just peer presentation and engaging skills. So very grateful for that. And as we talked earlier, Deborah J will be our presenter in August talking about It Takes a Family. So stay tuned for those details as well. Let me see if I can find any questions here. Yes, all of our webinars, I'm answering Anila. All of our webinars have one CEU attached to them. So as long as you're involved those 45 minutes, you will be receiving a certificate. Our webinars are once a month. So, and I'm not sure about MBCC approval. Ours are through NADAC. So, Lauren Carver, final words.
For me, just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, for me to spend some reflective time about what we do and why we do it. And I'm just so grateful to all of you that have interest in this. And also to say that any of you that want to contact me privately, I would be thrilled to just talk to you more about the process, how you can get trained in any of this, because there's trainings available in Love First Intervention and in structured family recovery, both. I've operated a number of industries, and both of those are the finest trainings I've ever had in any industry I've ever attended.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100%.
Fabulous. Anila, yes, the link will be in the email that I sent. So stay tuned for that again by the end of day Friday. Lauren Carver, this was such a pleasure. I have so much respect for what you do. The amount of support you provide your clients and their families is absolutely remarkable. And knowing that it is so needed in this industry. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate the support you show Harmony's webinar series, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. If you have any questions, give me a shout. Be happy to hear from you. See y'all next month. See if I can stop this.